Welcome to Season 4 of the Get Out of Teaching podcast presented by Larksong Enterprises. This podcast is for teachers who are considering leaving education but feel like they have no options. I'm your host, Elizabeth Diakos. I'm a career transition coach who guides overwhelmed teachers through a 5-step process out of education and into a life they love. I'd like to see a world where the work of teachers is valued and respected, and that teachers have a career pathway that enables them to continue to offer value to society beyond their work in the classroom. So in this season, we'll be speaking to other experts who help people to change careers, as well as a few ex-teachers who've forged a pathway into something new. So come along for the ride as we get out of teaching. Every week I talk to teachers who want to leave the classroom but don't know what to do next. Many of them still have a passion for teaching. So I'm delighted to have ex-teacher Kahila Sivas as a podcast sponsor. Kahila has created a unique private practice as an online math and learning success coach, which has given her the freedom to follow her passion to teach and to make an impact. Now Kahila runs a business where she trains other teachers who want to escape the classroom. This is for teachers of any subject and any level who want to build a business while they're still working so they can confidently transition out of the classroom. Her mission is to help teachers to escape the classroom, create the income they deserve, find their inner balance, and make a huge impact in the lives of their students. Kahila runs regular webinars to explain her method and training programs. Check out her website at www.mathcodes, that's mathcodes.com/webinar, or email Kahila at kahila@mathcodes.com to get more information and set yourself up for success. Episode 21. Hi everyone and welcome to the show. On today's show, I'm very pleased to be interviewing fhiona.lamb, who's a director of a recruitment agency in the tech space, or as we were just discussing, she's actually a matchmaker, so she helps the employers as well find the right people for the job. So welcome to the show, Fiona.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Fiona, just a few questions about what you actually do. Like, what does a day in the life of fhiona.lamb look like?
It differs on a daily basis, that's for sure. But typically I would be, speaking with companies, asking them, what are their growth plans, and particularly in the sales space. And I would say that's my bread and butter. And, trying to find companies attract the best sales talent in the tech space in Australia. And from that, you'd be taking a brief. And typically that takes about 60 minutes, to be honest. And because you really want to be able to understand not only what does the role entail, but what's the company DNA, what's culture. Because if you're spending most of your time with, work, you want to make sure that you do see them as a second family. So for me, I always go off more about someone's personality, the manager's personality, the company's personality, what their plans are. And then from that, it's basically me reaching out to my own network and matchmaking, trying to find people who are looking for new opportunities that would fit with, the opportunity that the company would give me.
Okay, so let me get a bit of a definition about the kinds of roles that you are looking to fill.
Yeah. So anything in sales, right? So I would say the entry-level sales position would be typically your self-development reps. And that is somebody who typically would, go out, speak to new companies. And when I say go out, it's picking up the phone, reaching out to people, sending emails, and introducing themselves and also, their company and what they represent. From there, you've got your business development managers where they will then step in and again, speak to the companies, but they would do the full end-to-end sales cycle. So they do everything from prospecting all the way to closing the deal, managing the relationships afterwards. And then also sales directors who, they would manage the team, make sure that their sales reps are all hitting their numbers and making sure that the business is also hitting that, the goals. And then from there, we also do general managers. So yeah,
the whole gamut. And
yeah,
tell me, what are the kinds of, like you said, tech, but that's a really broad field. Can you give me a few examples of the kinds of companies that might be needing that service?
So literally, you're right. The tech space is changing constantly. And I've worked with companies in the cybersecurity space. I've worked with companies who are in the education tech space. And I've worked with digital agencies, literally anything and every company that needs some sort of technology. That's who I represent. And so that's why your first question of what does it look like on a daily basis, honestly, it really differs every single day.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you be looking for in a candidate for a tech sales role?
Yeah, sure. I don't typically look at what have they sold, because a good salesperson will be able to sell anything, right? So when I'm speaking to a candidate, I always want to understand their story, right? Why are they looking to leave? What are they looking for? And then when I jump into a little bit more about the actual, responsibilities in a company, and I'm asking them, what are they selling? First of all, so that I understand, because I'm not going to be, the expert in their solution, what they're selling. So they've got to explain to me in layman's terms how or what they are selling. And from that, I'm analyzing, can they explain to me literally in simple terms, somebody who doesn't understand, the technical details, can they simply just explain it to me? And from there, I would then, I'd ask them, who are you selling to? Because every solution, you'll be selling it to different, profiles, right? You could be selling it to another salesperson. You could be selling it to a technical person or HR manager or even, finance officer. So depending on what solution you're selling, there's going to be a whole bunch of different personas. So again, when some salespeople are talking or they're selling to, a multiple variety of decision makers, I want to understand, how do the conversations change? Because the old stereotypes of salespeople, your quota crushers, your hunters, and like the levels, they have they're no longer wanted, typically in the tech space, right? What's really how we sell now has changed. People want to be educated about what they are selling. So, to be honest, playing a role of a teacher role is actually probably the best way to get a sell in. And it's asking a lot of questions. It's making sure that, again, how they represent their whatever they're selling, service or a product, I can understand it. And then also making sure that I understand what their targets are, because every salesperson is going to have a target, whether it's a monthly target, a quarterly target, or an annual target. I want to know what that target is and have they achieved it? And it's okay that, some might not achieve them, right? And that's fine, as long as they have a legitimate reason as to why they haven't achieved it, then it's fine. But from there, I understand their sales methodology as well, because again, like I said, long are the days where people don't want that quota crushers where it's like you're trying to persuade them to buy your product or your service. Mm-hmm. They want somebody who is a problem solver, a relationship builder, somebody who can educate them and go, look, this is why we can help fix your problems, as opposed to this is why you need to you need to buy off me because
Right. Yeah.
I can do X, Y, and Z.
Mm. So I like the way you said that they need to be a problem solver and an educator.
For sure.
So, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today was because a lot of teachers talk about getting into tech in this very broad term.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not really sure what that actually involves.
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be cool to talk to someone who's working in this space and just ask you, like, what could a role in tech be? And I think, teachers sell information to their students all the time. You're always trying to convince your students of the need for this knowledge in some way, or the value of it. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, look, teachers, like, in society, they are, portrayed as that trusted group, right? Each school year, parents literally hand their children over to the teacher and say, go teach them, right?
Yeah.
And so when a teacher would want to sort of transition into a sales role within the tech industry, it's using their soft skills that they already know, because a great sales, they're all about relationships and trust. So already, as a teacher, you're naturally going to be able to read other people's emotions. You're going to be able to understand what their pain points are and then help find a solution for them. And then from that, it's a gentle, I've seen a lot of teachers actually transition into tech sales, and they do become, very, very successful because of that genuine approach. I mean, that's really important, especially in the Australian market. And, I'm not from Australia, and I'm from the UK, and the way they sell over there is completely different to how Australians like to buy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's interesting.
It's very interesting. In the UK, it is more of that, quota crushing. It's just all about your numbers. Whereas in Australia, it's all about rapport. That's all it is. I've helped, British people, Americans, to try and get roles in Australia. And when I asked them, how did you find, your transition into like selling to Australia businesses? And they said they had to learn very quickly that it was all about relationships and being genuine.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's nice I think that sounds like a compliment to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like it could be a really lucrative career for someone. Yeah. You talked about that relationship building. What other transferable skills could an educator bring to a role in tech?
Yeah. Oh God, they a lot of soft skills, right? I mean, teachers are also very empathetic, and that's again extremely important in sales, because it's a people's game. You're dealing with other people, right? And it's all about, to be honest, what are your problems? Let's help. Let me help you. Let me understand why it's not working, and where do you guys want to get to from there. So a lot of, and like I said, right, I have actually helped a lot of teachers transition into a tech sales role, and they know how to take a complex concept and make that very simple, right? So you will see a lot of their goals is very often not to convince the decision maker to buy their product or service, whatever they're selling, the solution, but their goal is rather to ensure that the customer truly understands like why the product or service would help them, that will make their life easier and better. That's all it is, right? And then comes negotiation. But again, what teachers do on a daily basis with dealing with students, it's just the same as it is when you are selling, to be honest. It has to be genuine. I know I keep repeating that word, but that genuineness it's people, when I represent candidates, I have to feel like I genuinely know them. Because a lot of salespeople, they're going to embellish everything, right? On their CV, they're going to embellish their targets. They're going to embellish their biggest, deal that they've ever done. They're going to embellish, connections that they have. And so when I ask, it's just like painting a picture. I want to understand them. Okay, if you're telling me you've sold $1 million in one deal, tell me how you did it. Whereas when I've helped teachers, transition into tech sales, when I ask them, even catching up with them after 3 months, right, and they would probably, one of them actually, she did just a small deal. I think it was only like 50 grand, but I asked her how did you feel about it? And she, in detail, told me step by step. And that just translates into why she got the deal done.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you how would you select a candidate? Like you said about you're looking for that genuineness. Is there other stuff like how do you help them get a job once you found somebody who's ideal?
Yeah, so what I do is, there's two ways, right? So either I've already got an opportunity with a company and, like I said, matchmaking, right? If it works on paper where, this person, the sales director wants somebody who is a go-getter, has a track record in terms of achieving numbers and their target, that's typically what they look for, right? They don't specifically go, I need somebody who has sold the same solution, because why would you want another candidate who has sold the same solution from a competitor? They come to the business, chances are they leave the company because they want more money. And again, so with sales it's really complex. But the other way is when I find a really genuine candidate, because I'm always having conversations with hiring managers, and I know what they're about and what they represent, not only to their team, but to the company globally. And I would know potentially, I'd actually say to hiring managers, look, on paper, this person might not be a right fit. But have a chat with them, and then you're going to realize, okay, yeah, this person has a different way of thinking, and this will help my team. You don't want somebody who, and this is what I always say to hiring managers, you don't want that culture fit. That, for me, it's otherwise, you're just creating the same culture, which is, it's not a culture, right? You want somebody who can add to the culture. So that's why a lot of the times the best salespeople tend to be not the perfect fit on paper.
Interesting. Okay. So adding to the culture is something that, if you come in as a genuine person, then you should be able to do that.
Exactly.
So just out of curiosity, what would a graduate, like a base entry sales role in tech, what would that be worth?
As in salary wise?
Yeah, salary wise.
Okay, so it used to be, for a fresh graduate, it used to be 50,000 on the base, then plus super, and then typically you've got about 10 to 15,000 in commission, right? You hit your targets.
Okay.
But because the borders have been shut, there is a huge war on talent, huge. And so now we're seeing companies are paying, and everybody are after, a lot of companies, they want SDRs, your sales development reps, which is, the entry level roles. And it's so hard to find because you're not going off a piece of paper, their CV, you're going off their attitude, their personality, their coachability, and their willingness to learn. You're going off soft skills as opposed to what have they done in the past. So now I would say, I've seen companies pay 75,000 base plus super. Then you've got 10 to 15 on top of that as well for a fresh graduate.
Yeah. So if you were coming in as an entry-level teacher out of education and into sales, you could be almost matching your education income at the base level.
Exactly. And like I said, I've worked at other companies who play in the education tech sector.
Mm.
So a lot of teachers that I've placed, instead of getting them an entry-level role, I actually get them a BDM or an account executive role, which is the full end-to-end sales cycle. But they're selling technology, but they're selling to the education sector. So they already know how that industry operates. They can have conversations where they're using the same lingo, and it's an easier transition. Once, they've had that experience, after a couple of years, understanding the sales process, what that looks like, because it is so different, then it's much easier to then swap over to and sell a different product or service.
Okay.
That's how I've managed to, because and that role, by the way, that typically goes for about 120 base plus super, and then 50-50 split, which means you can earn 120 on top of your base salary.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I know.
I mean, compared to, because most, depending on the state a little bit.
Yeah.
But most teachers at the top of their pay scale here in Australia, and I'm talking Australian dollars, would be at about 100,000, give or take.
Right.
Depending, like I said, depending a little bit on the state and if they're in a leadership role or not. But I'm not talking about principals. I mean, just still classroom teachers. So that would be a huge pay rise for someone.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of sales, right?
Yeah.
You get a base salary, then you're super. And then you do have other tech companies, they have a lot of benefits on top of that. But the beauty about it is because without sales, a business can't really, or they don't function as well, right? Because you need revenue coming in.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I believe a sales team is the heart of a business, right? And they're doing the hard work. So that's why sales, you do get paid very well because you've got your base salary, you've got your super on top, other benefits, and then you've got the commission part. Typically, if you're finding new businesses, then you get double in a year, you should get double your salary. But if you're doing an account manager role, which means that you're not going to find new businesses, you're looking after existing accounts, typically you get about 30% of your base salary on top.
Right. But you might have a higher base salary because you're in a leadership role. Is that right?
It's not leadership, but I mean, it depends, right? Because some salespeople, they don't like the new business aspect and going out, finding new opportunities. They would much rather be that nurturer, making sure that they really understand, a handful of accounts.
I see.
And then upsell, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not finding new opportunities, the commission is not as much. Hence why it's a 70-30 split.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay. So I'm clearly in the wrong industry here. Okay. So a lot of the people who are listening in on this podcast are women, and that's sales and tech are a pretty much male-dominated environment. Do you think this would be something that women could get into?
100%. I'm a big, big advocate for women in tech. And my clients know this too, especially women who are not afraid to go out and find new business. They have more, and I tell them that they have more of a bargaining chip at the end once we get to the salary negotiation, because a lot of companies, yes, it's, it is more male heavy. So if you can portray yourself and you can back yourself and say, I can find you business and you're a woman, I'm a little bit more expensive because I know I'm sought after. I call them gold dust. That's what I call women who can really go out or who are really, hungry to find new opportunities. So there's actually a research that shows, I think it was from Harvard, Harvard Business Research, that states 86% of women actually achieve their quota compared to the 78% of their male counterpart.
Oh, so women are actually more successful.
Yes, because they're good listeners, right? Just like when, your girlfriend calls you to rant about or to vent about their children or their husbands or, dating problems, women are naturally more adept to listening carefully to the needs and understanding the situation better as a result, right? In sales, it's exactly the same. This will lead to an easier sell because it's all about listening to your customers. What are your pain points? How can I help you? And women also have a higher EQ, emotional intelligence, right? So they're more likely to empathize and connect and collaborate as well in order to shape the right solution for the prospect company. Again, going back to that, building that genuine rapport. If you don't come across genuine, how can you empathize? How can you connect? And why would you want to collaborate?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Sales is a people's game, right? You need to be able to read body language. You need to understand, tonalities, as well as, establishing that genuine connection. That's all it is, with that gentle push at the end to say, hey, this is why you should buy off me.
Yeah, it's today the day for you.
Yeah. And then there's the other aspect I was going to say for women, it's that relationship management, right? And, how many times, for example, has your partner organized or managed, a family get together or an event that went smoothly? Women typically do that a lot better. Right, for kids' birthdays or Christmas gathering, it's always the women that are in charge of that. And in the sales world, it's the same thing. You're developing, you're nurturing relationships in that sales environment that will encourage loyalty and retention by helping the customers realize that ongoing value. Yeah.
Okay, so can you give us an example, like a story about someone who's been brought into a sales role?
Sure. I mean, so most recently, actually, last week, and I helped this. He was 35. He's 35, and he's never done sales. He was actually in the finance world, right? So he was trading, and I say recently, last year, he finished his degree in finance. As a mature student, and he was trading, but there was no stability in terms of income because the market is so volatile, right? So he came to me, and as part of one of our coaching programs, he wanted to get into sales because he realized that he can have that commission bit, right? A lot of salespeople, they can, typically earn anywhere between 200 to 300 in a year, first year. Right. And this is someone with going in at that BDM or account executive level. Yeah. But I helped him, prep for all their interviews. And that can be, he applied for a sales role in a finance company. He applied for a role in a recruitment company as well. And what he didn't realize was, with sales, it's all about reverse psychology, because you're interviewing with a sales manager. It's how can I outsell sales to somebody who's got more sales experience than me without coming across too salesy, right? So it literally is about for me, sales interviews are very different to technical interviews. It's very much conversational because you need to ask questions about the company. You need to qualify the opportunity, and the company needs to qualify you. So you asking the right questions, you actually demonstrate to the sales manager that you can actually do the job. Now, sales questions, it's all about open-ended questions, right? Unless you get to the closing phase, which is, do you, can you, that sort of stuff. Whereas the discovery and understanding and qualifying if there is a real opportunity here is asking how, why, when, who. Once you get those answers, that's when you can go, okay, cool. I can actually see if I can help them or not. And so when I was helping this candidate, I was, again, no sales experience, but I was telling him, to use particular language so that they leave the interview, the decision maker, the hiring manager would leave the interviewing having that feeling of, oh, okay, yes, this guy may not have sales experience, but I know that he works hard. I know that he is an overachiever in his past, past career. And I know that he's very disciplined. Those are the things, because you want to play off emotion. There's that saying where it's like, people don't remember the exact details of what you say and when you said it, but they remember how you make them feel. That's why I always try and, when I am coaching my candidates for a sales role, I always want them to say particular language so that when they leave the interview, the hiring manager can go, wow, he really knows his stuff. And then after the interview, then there's follow-up tips, which is as simple as connecting with them on LinkedIn and saying, hey, it was really nice to meet you today. Because again, that demonstrates that you're able to follow up. And that's what you need in sales. Sales is all about following up and having a conversation.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It's all reverse psychology. It's super interesting.
So if someone wanted to use your service,
sure.
Tell us from both sides of the matchmaking, how would we get in touch with you, and what would it look like to work with you?
So from a candidate perspective, I would, a lot of the times, I will have ads up on LinkedIn. We used to use Seek, but we find that LinkedIn is more efficient, to be honest. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, definitely create one. Like, that's the number one thing. Even when I speak to graduates, I say you need to create a LinkedIn profile. Even though you don't have that much experience, you just need to have one and start connecting with people. And from then I had that conversation. You're asking, tell me, my opening line is, what is your current situation? Get them to talk, because when they're doing the talking, I'm writing down, I'm understanding, what they're looking for. And then, I ask them questions like, okay, why do you want to get into sales? Sales it's all about rejection. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get rejected. How would you cope with that? And, again, like I ask all these, like, regardless of what level they're at, I have prepped graduates and I've prepped VP of sales.
Right.
And you'd think that, someone with a lot of experience would already know how to interview. They don't, because, like I said, sales interviews, it's all about reverse psychology. And in their mind, they might think, oh, I already know how to sell, so I'm just going to explain it. But from a decision maker or whoever is listening, the interviewer, they don't understand your full story. So I always say to, my candidates when they're going through an interview, you need to explain step by step your process. Don't assume that whoever's interviewing you knows everything and knows you already, because they don't. You need to explain it. So that's how, and again, it comes down to, for me, attitude, and that can I build a connection? Because if I don't feel that this person is being genuine, how can I help them?
Yeah.
A lot of candidates, and being in sales, I get a whole bunch of personalities, right? The color of the rainbow. And so the ones where they come off really arrogant at first, I'm like, well, hey, like, why are you like defensive? I need to know like what you actually want. If I don't know you, then how can I help you?
Yeah. And so actually you're almost doing the same thing.
I'm doing exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. That's why, like I said, sales is all about conversations, but genuine conversations. And then from a company side, I'm taking, a full brief of the role, right? Like the technical aspects, do you need somebody to have sold the same product? Yes, no. A lot of the times they say no, right? If they say yes, I'm like, why? Why do you actually need someone to have sold the same product as what you're selling? Because there's not a lot of people that can. And if you do want that, you need to pay a competitive salary. But then you've got the risk of, if another company comes along and pays more money, the chances are that candidate's going to just move for money. A lot of the times when I'm speaking to hiring managers, they always try and tell me that they want this sort of person who sold this before, and someone who is not afraid to go out and find the new business, all that sort of stuff. And then I really dig a little bit deeper. I'm asking the open-ended questions: what, why, how, who, and a lot of the times, right, I always ask them, who's your best sales rep and where did they come from? And 9 times out of 10, they always say, oh, from a irrelevant industry. So I'm like, okay, so if that's your best sales rep, why are you now wanting me to go and find somebody with these specific technical requirements? And then they go, you're right.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm after somebody who is a problem solver, who can think outside the box, who is creative, who is hardworking, who's not afraid to go and follow up. Those things, a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And again, I speak to so many salespeople day in, day out. And when I always get that good feeling whenever I do speak to a candidate, and it comes down to them being so honest with me. That's all it is.
So Fiona, if someone wanted to work with you,
sure,
to get a job, who pays you? Do they pay you, or does the company that's employing them pay you?
Yeah. So if I am doing a pure headhunt for a company, so a company wants a particular person, the company would pay me once I place them.
Right.
But if somebody, like I said, the candidate from last week who, wants to get into sales and not particularly in the tech sector, maybe, just a sales role, and they want my help to get the job, then that candidate would particularly pay for my services, for the coaching part, because I'm not necessarily helping them go and find, or applying for them, for the role. They're doing that on their own. Then they're getting the interview. I would do the prep for the interview. I would do a follow-up. I would do, a lot of the time sales interviews require role plays or even a business plan, 30, 60, 90-day business plan. I put a lot of my time and my expertise on what a hiring manager wants to look like. But especially in the tech space, because I do know a lot of people, I know what hiring managers are wanting, and particularly what they're looking for in terms of language. So I also helped this other, in fact, a recruiter, right? He specialized in recruiting technical people, something that I do technical sales, technical roles, but my expertise is sales, right? Yeah. And he went out to myself and another, my competitor, and he spoke to me and said, this other agency said to me that you need to go for an entry-level sales role. And I said, no, you don't. You just need to find the right company. So I told him to go and apply to this company because I knew they don't use recruiters, right? Because they have an internal team. And I told him to apply to this particular person, follow up with this hiring manager. He got the interview. I prepped him for the first round. The second round was a presentation. I helped him with that. I think I spent about 4 hours with him on doing role play, and also just the information, because I act as if I'm the one who's doing the presentation myself. So I'll make sure the company would give a scenario. I would then do my own research on the case study that they want and make sure that the candidate has all the right details that he's not, that he's probably missed. And then again, using sales terminology, I told him, like little tricks.
Give us an example of a trick. One trick. Give us one trick.
So it's as simple as this, right? If it's a phone interview, stand up, right? Because when you stand up, and you walk around, you have more energy. If you're on the phone and you are, you're sitting down and you're, hi, it's Fiona from, I'm looking for a new role. You don't sound bubbly, right? I don't want to be, I get bored very easily, right? I want some, because I speak to so many candidates and so many people, I want people to grab my attention.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that. Or another one is if you're going in face to face, bring a notebook. Start writing things down. Even if you don't understand, just write it down, because it just demonstrates to the interviewer, to the sales manager, that you're good at taking notes. It's little things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, okay.
No idea. He had no idea. Anyways, he got the job. They lowballed him, and I said to him, no, this is how we negotiate. So I end up getting him 20 grand more on the base salary.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said to him, I go, look, this is going to be an easier transition, because he was selling, the role that he was applying for was selling a solution for selling to HR managers. So not that much of a jump from being a recruiter. So he already understands that industry. And I said to him, within 6 to 12 months, once you get a couple of wins under your belt, then you can start looking. Sure enough, within 6 months, because he was doing so well, and the market, like I said, it's so hot right now.
Yeah.
And he called me, he goes, I got another role. And I said, I knew you would. And he got more. And
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, there is no secret. I tell this to clients. There's no secret to recruiting. There's no like secret ingredient or any magic tricks or anything like that. It just comes down to who are you dealing with.
But it sounds like a 4-hour preparation. That's a lot. Like, that's a lot of work.
That's what people don't understand.
Be ready.
Correct. They just think it's an interview and that's it. People don't see what we do behind the scenes. And being a recruiter, you're not just somebody, you're not a headhunter. I mean, you are a headhunter, but you're not just that, right? You are somebody's advisor. You are someone's therapist. You are someone's friend. You believe it or not, I have both from candidate side and client side, they are telling me their issues and asking me for problems or for solutions to help their problems. Right. So it's fun being a recruiter.
Yeah. Sounds like you really do and genuinely enjoy that.
Yeah. I mean, I love helping people. For me, that's the joy, right? Is once they get the opportunity, and it does change their life. I love when I get a text message saying, thank you, you've honestly changed my life. That is why I love doing what I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap this up, I've got one final question for you, Fiona. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song is going to be so cringy, but okay. I'm going to be honest. It's Celine Dion, Alive.
And what is it about that for you?
So I think it's just it makes you upbeat, right? Makes you dance. It gives you energy, right? And for me, I listen to the song when I have to clean the house, when I have to, before I do like an important, sales call, because I feel a lot more confident when I am, or I literally shake off my nerves or whatever it is that's making me not want to do it.
Yeah, nice.
That's the song I go to whenever I need to.
That's a great strategy. When you were saying before about if someone's in a sales role and it's 90% no, how do you shake that off?
Yeah,
a song like that sounds like the perfect thing for that.
Yeah, that's one of my tips. I say, if you're that nervous, put on your favorite song. Candidate is interviewing today at 12 and she's very nervous. I said, what's your favorite song? Listen to it like 10 minutes before and literally shake your shoulders.
Yeah, nice.
Physically do it, because when you physically do it, you just have this brand new energy and then you can go in confident.
It almost sounds like it's a peak performance tip, really, isn't it?
It really is.
For elite athletes or anyone who, I always think of the rower who like stopped midstream, just stopped rowing when they were in a I don't know what you call it, like a four rowers, and she just couldn't do it anymore. But if you've got some kind of way of a circuit breaker to stop that feeling of, I'm feeling defeated right now, and find a way to do that, to create that different mindset, that's really powerful.
It's all about mindset in sales. That's all it is. I
I
mean,
love
anything
that.
in life, right?
Yeah. Nice one. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Fiona Lamb, thank you so much for coming on the Get Out of Teaching podcast today. It's been really interesting conversation, and I just love the way you bring such energy and joy to your role too. It's really
Oh, good.
inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it today.
You've been listening to the Get Out of Teaching podcast, presented by Larksong Enterprises, with your host, Elizabeth Diakos. Do you know someone else who could benefit from hearing more stories of hope and transition from teachers all around the world? Please take a moment to share this and other episodes via your podcast app. Each share helps me reach listeners just like you who can benefit from this content. The Get Out of Teaching podcast is proud to be part of the Experts on Air podcast network. For show notes and other resources, please visit larksong.com.au/podcast.